What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
Welcome back to another workshop. Instead of having Laura with me, I have Alex. Alex is our marketing director. He helps ourselves, Platinum. He helps a lot of our partners go and do all of the marketing stuff. You give a little plug for kind of what you do?
Yeah, so I am all things digital when it comes to website, building your brand, investor marketing, and just really getting your name out in the community. I work alongside Laura with her Strategic 20 and with you guys. So I'm Laura's fill-in sub today.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, we're glad to have you here. So for some of you guys who may be new to what we do, we come on every single month and we've done workshops for years and we don't charge anything. We are here to share different parts of the journey. We talk a lot about marketing stuff. We talk about how to fill your beds. We talk about how to raise money from investors. We talk about how to work with banks and how to build huge deals, right? How to build a one and done deal, how to do something that is significant and so much bigger than a lot of other people are doing out in there in the assisted living space. So I'm excited to share with you guys. We have opened our neighborhood of mansions a few months ago, going through licensure on that now. I'm excited to share what that looks like and really kick off today talking about the recipe for a $10 million business. And I am 100% convinced that just about everyone, people who have their stuff together, middle-class people, normal day-to-day people, can follow this path. And there's a bunch of steps going through it. I'm gonna share some of those steps in a kind of a high level today. But man, you can do amazing deals. You can do a $10 million business because I can tell you firsthand, I'll share a little bit today. Our project, we will walk with more than $30 million, Laura, myself, and our investor, from one project, right? This one neighborhood of mansions. And it's big, it's massive. There's a lot there. The impact that you have is phenomenal. The amount of people that we get to help is amazing. I'll share a little bit of stories from some of our other teams that are around the country that they are doing similar things. They are building their own neighborhood of mansions with our plug and play model. And again, making at least a $10 million business on these things. Some of them much, much more than that. So to kind of overview and set the stage for this, what we do, our niche, is instead of going and buying a house and converting the garage and having 6, 8, or 10 beds, we go and we find a large piece of land, maybe a couple acres, maybe 10 acres, and we build out a neighborhood of very luxury assisted living mansions. I also call them memory care mansions. That's kind of our niche, is end of life, memory care, dementia. But we build 10,000 square foot mansions. They're all 16 private rooms. They have their own bathroom in it. They're gorgeous. I'll show you a little bit later. But we offer all of the same care and amenities that you could get at one of the big smelly facilities. And so we crush. I mean, we are literally stealing all the grandmas from the big smelly facilities nearby because you just can't get great care at those places. The people at the top, they just don't care, right? And so I love this opportunity for the husband-wife combo, for the small, entrepreneur team who are looking to leave corporate America, get out of the rat race, and make a difference and have a play where the net profit's super strong. The cash flow in this, I mean, we typically see on a mansion, $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 of net profit per month for one building, right? And then you go and you scale and you build multiple of these. That is phenomenal. The impact that we have is amazing. The amount of people that we help is substantial and significant. Like, I had my own family in there. My own grandma was the first resident at Platinum. And then the equity play. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about the numbers and how you build really substantial wealth through this. And I don't see that you can do this anywhere. It is not coming close with apartment buildings. You could do 1,000 doors in order to get to the same amount of wealth that you would have to building one of my neighborhoods. Like, it's substantial what we can do on these kind of things. So I wanted to kick off and share and talk to you about these things today. But really start just sharing a little story and really how we got into this, because Laura and myself, we started actually through college, right? Broke as a joke, got married young, and we were taught that we should get a job with a pension. I was waiting tables at night. I was going through a fire academy. I was in paramedic school working on an ambulance as an EMT, and I hated that. Laura was also waiting tables, and then she was working for the local government because we were taught, like jump into the system and get a pension and retire at 55 or 60 or something like that. And just that is what the play is. And man, I just didn't sit well with that. That was not for me. I literally had this just oppression and just like sadness. And I'm like, I'm built for more than this, right? God created me and you special to do something substantial and something significant. And doing these things, like, it was just not for me. I wanted something more. I wanted freedom, right? I wanted financial freedom. I actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad around this time and was like, boom, like my mind expanded. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get out of the rat race here. I gotta get out of this 9 to 5. And so, man, around 2011, Laura and myself, we bought our first house, and it was a pretty gnarly fixer-upper. And we spent a few years literally doing the whole thing ourselves because we were broke. And we had a budget of only $500 a month. That was all we could scrape together. And I would go to Home Depot and I would get the materials, and we would just start fixing up this house, like one room at a time. It took us almost 3 years, no joke. But we did it, right? Like, we screwed up a bunch of stuff. I remember getting electrocuted trying to do can lights, and I didn't turn off the breaker. We tiled the shower, and we did it so bad we had to demo it and do it again, right? But we built a lot of grit together. And by 2014, we had finished fixing up our house, and we're like, all right, now is our opportunity, right? We're gonna go all in on this real estate stuff. And we sold our house, and we quit our jobs. So I quit 2 jobs, Laura quit 2 jobs. It's all right, we're going all in. We're gonna do this real estate thing, right? And we paid for a mentor. We paid for speed. I think it's the best way to go. And we found someone who was flipping a whole bunch of houses in our community. And I said, all right, well, show me the path. And man, we flipped 3 houses that first year. I'm like, oh, it's not bad, right? At least we were making some money, right? We flipped 3. By the second year, we flipped 12 houses, and we started building a team, and we did pretty good there. Year 3, it was like 17 or 18 houses. Year 4, we were in like the mid 20s, something like that. And then we started doing wholesale and stuff in there too, and we're getting closer to, pushing towards 50 houses. But during this time, we built out a substantial team, and we were running this flipping business for about 8 years. We had inside sales, outside sales. We had a construction project manager. We were running 2 crews ourselves full time and doing a lot of fantastic things. But you know what? Like, it was a bear, right? Like, it was just one deal after another. You were never free. You were never set. You were always marketing. We were sending out tens of thousands of, postcards, and you always had to struggle to get the next deal. I'm like, man, you know what? This is hard. This is hard work, right? Like, I'm not free in this, right? Like, I'm making good money. I was making a couple $100,000 a year, but I was still working around the clock. And for, a couple $100,000, it's like, So we started also getting into rental properties, and we accumulated 13 rentals, and we had over $10,000 a month in passive income. And, so we're like, oh my gosh. And Laura looked at us and we said, hey, we're financially free, right? Like, we did it, we made it, right? But there was actually nothing financially free about that, right? Man, the amount of calls that I would get from my property manager, the amount of tenants that had issues and toilets and roofs and HVACs that went out, and these were all in California. So then you have all these people that weren't paying rent, and you had to evict them, and the laws were against you as a landlord. And it's like, man, you know what? There's nothing free about this. Like, there is no freedom in this, right? There's no passive investments here and so honestly, I'm like, what do I do? I wanted something big, right? I knew how to make good money. I could make a couple $100,000 a year, but I wanted something significant. I wanted to do something that made a difference. And I had heard about RAL, residential assisted living, and I kind of just let it be because I was hearing about people who would make, $10,000 a month, and they do a home conversion. They do 6 or 8 beds, and I'm like, that's not really for me. I want something big. I want something grand, right? I don't want to make $100,000 a year. I can do that, no big deal. I want to make $1 million a year. And I'm seeing all my friends grow and then getting into multifamily. I'm like, I don't know if that's for me. I want to do something that makes a difference, and I can do 1 deal a year that will net me $1 million. So as I'm kind of going down this, we started in 2019 or so, and we bought our first property for assisted living. And I'll pull up some of the photos of what this looks like here. But in 2019, this is the property that we bought. It was on Mesa, and we bought a 3,500 square foot home, and it looked like this here, right? It was outdated. It was a ranch style house. It was built in like 1974. I mean, you could see how nasty this thing was. But we had this vision for it, and we were great at converting things. I knew how to raise money, and we ended up building this house out. We demoed it down to the studs. We did a very large addition. It ended up being about 6,300 square feet. It's 15 private rooms. It is 12 bathrooms. And our niche here is that we can offer all of the care and amenities that you could get at the big smelly facility nearby, right? And we're just literally competing with them. We are honestly stealing all of their grandmas because, you know, they are non-medical in nature, but still be able to charge the same as the big luxury facility down the street. And again, in our market, that's, you know, $8,000 to $10,000 a month. So we built this, our first mansion, through 2019, through COVID actually is when we opened. And it was hard, right? I'm not gonna BS you, like going through COVID sucked. And then what was even worse than that was the Great Resignation, when no one would come into work and the government was giving out free money, and like we were just working all sorts of shifts. I was a chef, Laura was working, you know, on the floor because someone would get COVID and they'd be gone for 2 weeks. So there was a bunch of challenges, but you know, honestly, it was like the first year was figuring everything out, building our team, building our systems. And by about maybe 12 to 18 months in, we were getting more and more passive in this. We run a 2-manager system, meaning that for each one of our mansions, we have 2 full-time managers that run this thing. So literally 7 days a week, there's a manager there, which means that we had our time back, right? By, you know, the end of year 1, we were working probably 1 day a week. By probably 18 months in, just a few hours a day. And then it was years of this. It's been 5 years where we work probably 2 to 4 hours a week. Laura probably works about 4. I work really just the manager meeting 1 day a week. And again, still netting $30,000 to $40,000 a month from this one deal. And so this was my first one and done deal. This was how I got to what I really consider, you know, financial freedom, because we have millions of dollars in equity in this. We have consistent income that comes in every single month. It is so easy to fill these beds. It is so easy to make sales. The people, right? The staff, that's actually the hardest part of this business. So I got my one and done deal. And then I got a lot of family time, right? My girls were young. We have a trailer. We go camping all the time. And we got so much fantastic family time. And that was great. It was a couple years of this. And then you know what happened? Laura and I got bored. It's like, man, like I'm like 35 or something at that time. I'm like, I got to build something. I got to do something, right? I'm trying to, you know, build something substantial and significant. And this whole thing about like, oh, I'm going to, you know, get passive income and sit on the beach and do nothing. That's not you. Like people who can actually get to financial freedom are not the kind of people who want to sit all day on the beach. They're the people that say, okay, what's the next challenge? And that's what I said to myself. What's my next challenge? And the problem that I had was I didn't know how to scale this. We built our first mansion, and really it was kind of an exception because that piece of land there was in a non-zoned area, right? And that's usually the biggest challenge is you go in and like the city's gonna say, hey, you know, you can have 6 or 8 or 10 beds. Typically not 16 beds, right? But I was in an area without zoning that allowed me to do it. And from that perspective, I'm like, well, how do I go and how do I scale this, right? I want to find a way that I could do this all over the place. And so I was actually one day looking at our house, right? And I'm standing in the front yard, I'm looking at it, and I looked to the left and I saw the next door neighbor, and I looked to the right and I saw another neighbor. I'm like, man, what if I could buy those houses, right? What if I can just create my own street, my own neighborhood of these assisted living mansions? I'm like, well, that's really not practical, right? Like that one doesn't work and this one over here is not gonna work, but you know, what do I do? And I thought to myself, man, I just need to build my own neighborhood here, right? I just need to buy, you know, a big piece of land and do this. And so here is actually the land that we bought, you know, maybe a year or so after this kind of epiphany. And we bought 8 acres in Georgetown. It's 8 minutes away from our first assisted living. And this was just flat land, right? And this became the vision for me. This is how I said, okay, I know that we can go now and build out this neighborhood. And I want to kind of transition here and talk to you about this path, right? I am confident that you can do this, that there is a structured path that you can go down in every single state, in every single city, and you can do this yourself. And here's kind of the mental shift, the transition that I want you to have, is people would say to me, Brett, you know what, you're doing this 16 bed, you're building this neighborhood. Cool, you're in Texas. You can do that in Texas. I'm in California. I'm in Indiana. I'm in Florida. I'm in such and such. You can do it there. I'm telling you, we have people building these and operating these in 19 different states. And I can tell you that every single state, you can do this. And I just want to shift your mindset, because I came at this initially from, I'm doing a residential assisted living, which means by default, I'm looking at residential zoning, right? Like, that's not what I want to show you to do. And come at it from this perspective. If you can do a 60 bed, an 80 bed, 100 bed in every single state, in every single city, right? There's Brookdales everywhere. If you can do a 60 bed, then you can do a 16 bed. You just need to break it down. You got to get out of this residential mindset. I want you to think bigger here. So I wanted to kind of break this down into a couple different parts that you can take away and look at this. And I would say the first part to this is the zoning. We want to look at this zoning here. And as I said, right, most cities are going to limit you. If you're going to look to, buy a house and convert it, you're going to buy a vacant piece of land in a residential neighborhood that's zoned R1, they're not going to let you do this, right? They're not going to let you go in and build more than 6 or 8 or 10. There are some cities that will let you do 16. So rare. I've only seen a couple across the entire country. So the next question is, what is the big facilities, the competition, right? The 60 beds, what type of zoning are they doing? Because if they can build a 60, then you can build a 16, right? So what is the right zoning type? So I always teach our teams, right? Go into the city, go talk to 3 different cities and go meet with planning and zoning and ask these 2 questions. The first question is, what type of zoning do you consider me as an assisted living? I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do assisted living, or I'm gonna do memory care, right? What box do you put me in? Because the city's very black and white. They put things in boxes, and they may say, hey, you know what, you're in commercial, or you're in mixed use or something like that. Usually a lot of times you can always do commercial. So you wanna know, great, okay, question number 1, what can I do? What zoning types can I do? Okay, you can do this, right? You can do commercial, you can do these other things. The second question I always follow up with, great, thank you so much, planning and zoning people. Follow-up question, what other zoning types can I do that are maybe not in the box, but if I jump through a hoop, if I did a special use permit, if I had a variance, what other type of lands could I do in order to make this work, right? And a lot of times there's other options that you can look at. A lot of times it's agricultural land, it's mixed use land, it's R4 zone land, it's something like that, right? Like I bought, right, I showed you that vacant land. It was agriculture. It was zoned for agriculture use, which means that I bought that for substantially less than the commercial property. The commercial property in my city was a couple $1 million. I bought this for literally 1/3 of the cost, right? And all I had to do was spend about a month or 6 weeks jumping through a couple little hoops with the city planning and zoning to move it from agriculture to what they can, a special use permit to be able to build my assisted living mansions there. So you might think, oh, you know what? I can't, right? It's too expensive. Just think outside the box there. What other things can you do? Don't worry about cost. I'm going to show you how to fund this thing, but I want you to think bigger. Do a bigger deal. If you're going to look at residential zone land, you're going to be stuck with one of these little deals that are 6 or 8 or 10 beds. That is not going to get you to something significant. That's what I want to show you. Here is the path to a $10 million business. So the other layer here is the licensure. People will literally tell me like, oh, you know what? You can do that in your state. My state doesn't allow that licensure. And I'm like, bull crap, man. That is such a load of crap. Like, I can only do 6 beds in my state. That is not true. There are people tell me in this California all the time, that's not true, man. What about the Brookdales? What about them? What license type do they have? And they'll say like, oh, well, that's a lot more work. That's a lot more steps. Yeah, I know it's more work. I know it's bigger deal. Go do that. Do something substantial. Do something significant, right? I know it's harder. I know it's more expensive. What do you want? You want to make $100,000? You want to make millions of dollars? Which one is for you, right? This message from me is for people who want real net worth, who want to make something significant. Do a bigger deal. You can do this in every single city, in every single state. Big corporates doing it, right? There's no reason why you can't do it. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I am going down. I had this epiphany a few years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, now I realized I can scale this. I can do this in every city, in every state. But man, it's going to be more expensive, right? Like, how do I get funding for this? And I wish somebody would have told me this 5 years ago, because I raised a lot of money for my first project and I did not do it like this. But I can show you how to raise all the money to build a neighborhood of mansions. And it's actually not that complicated. So I'll break this into two parts here. And honestly, you don't have to be a millionaire. A lot of just normal people. We team up with people that are nurses, they're business people, they're teachers. A lot of people who they have money together, they look good on paper, but they're not super wealthy people are able to do this. So I want to show you what that looks like, and I'll kind of give you a simplified version of it here. But there's really two parts. The first part is the bank, right? Who's going to lend you this money? And I really, really like SBA. I think that SBA is the best way to go on this because you have a business and you have real property, right? SBA lends to businesses, which if you're gonna do this as a passive investment, you're gonna lose the SBA as an option. So this is fantastic, okay? SBA will fund 85 to 90% of the whole deal, and that's what TDC stands for, total development cost, right? So that includes the cost of the land. You can buy the land with the SBA loan. It includes the cost for building the mansion. It includes all of your business stuff, which means furniture and fixtures. It means hiring salaries for your managers. It means marketing dollars before you open, all of that stuff. And it includes your reserves. Literally like all of your interest while you're under construction, 6 months of interest while you're leasing up, oh crap money, just everything, and a whole, like for me, it was like an extra 600 grand that I just essentially gave back. I'm like, hey, I didn't need that, but thank you that I had all of that reserves. They essentially will fund 18 to 24 months of your entire business capital, right? All you need is therefore 10 to 15% down. That's not too bad, right? A typical deal for us when teams are gonna come and they're gonna build one mansion is about 3 to 4 million total development cost. So again, that's the stuff that you see up on the screen here, right? The land, the cost of the building, the cost for all the business stuff, and several $100,000 worth of reserves and oh crap money. So if you need 10 or 15%, that's not that much. That's $300,000 to $600,000. I know a lot of people, almost everyone, who can raise $300,000 to $600,000 from friends and family, right? So the bank will lend most of this money. Now, to do a sub point on this, I would say there's really two considerations that the bank's looking for to say, okay, yes, I want to lend to you, or no, you don't fit the box. Here are these two considerations. First and foremost, it's the deal, right? It is a business. The SBA lends to businesses. They want to know that your business is going to be profitable, right? It's really going to come down to the debt service coverage ratio. So when we look at these things, and we have a plug and play performer that we push all the numbers through, we have 4 preferred lenders that lend to all our teams, and we'll set up conversations with them. And our deals, our mansions, they're strong. The numbers on these are substantial. They're pretty significant. And so from that perspective, you come in and it's the cash flow on these is strong. It's 30, 40, $50 million just on the first mansion. Okay, so it is nothing like what you think when you go to buy a personal house. A lot of people think, oh, well, I got to pull my tax returns and they're going to say, here's my debt to income ratio, and oh, I can have a loan of this much per month. It's not like that at all. That is for a personal house. This is a business loan. So it goes back to how strong is your deal. And if your deal can make 500 grand a year, therefore, your personal tax returns are less relevant in that, right? It's, oh, the business is making a bunch of money. Cool. All right, that's one aspect of it, right? That's the first thing. The first thing is that the deal itself, that it cash flows. The second consideration is the borrower. Who is the borrower on here? Who is the lead person, right? Who's putting this deal together, and what does their team look like? So I would say really there's a couple things to consider. Experience is important. I've talked to a bunch of our banks. If you have medical experience, if you're a nurse or a doctor or you're home health or hospice, something like that, that carries a lot of weight. If you're a business person, right, you could be an entrepreneur, you could work in big corporate, but you have admin skills, people management skills, marketing skills, you've learned how to operate a business, because it's honestly harder to learn how to run a business than it is to the medical side of this. So you can be a business person and hire a nurse or a manager or an admin person to be able to come in and fill that difference. So your experience is important. Your team, who is on your team, right? That's why when we do these deals together, we come in and we're part of the ownership team with our partners, right? Because now they're looking at a plug and play model. They've built this before. They have, templates for operations and marketing and all these kind of things. You as the primary and then secondary, who is on your team, are really important things. And then they want to know, what does it look like on paper, right? The financials. What is your personal financial statement? Do you have rental properties? Do you have currently a W-2 job? Does your spouse have a W-2 job? And she or he will keep that while you are leasing up, right? During that kind of few months where there's, not profit yet. What's your credit look like? Bankruptcies, anything like that. So really, if you're going to build one of our mansions, the first thing's a home run. It's easy because the deal is super strong in cash flows. The second part of this, you can't look bad on paper. You don't have to be a millionaire and have like A+, but you can't look bad on paper, right? And so most teams who have their stuff together are coming in and being able to do these bank loans. So that's how the banking part of this looks. The second part of this is investors, right? We talked about the bank going and lending most of this money, 85 to 90%. So you need 10 to 15%. It is pretty easy to raise 300 to 600,000. We come in and our teams, they're building our exact mansion, right? So it's like, here it is, like here's the mansions in Georgetown, Texas. Here's the mansions in other places. They have virtual tours. They have all of our tools. And it's like, okay, well, now there's no predicting. I know here's exactly what it's going to look like, right? It makes it very easy to raise money and to get the bank to say, okay, here's our exact product. It's just not speculation. So I really like the deal structure where we do a joint venture partnership. I think that's most common with our teams because you're not raising $2 million like you would for an apartment deal, right? You don't have to get a syndication, which means that you're not giving away the lion's share, right? You as the GP are not getting like 20%, right? You honestly are getting the majority of this, you as the operator here. And I think that is the biggest win to what we do. You can go build these things, right? But if you have to give away 80% of the deal, that's stupid. Let me show you how you keep 65 to 90% of this deal, right? And the investors, because we have a real estate component and a business component with cash flow, the deals are strong. They are so much stronger than all the other apartment deals and syndications that I see. You're getting huge cash on cash returns on IRRs for this. And a lot of times with these numbers, investors will come in on the equity side and they'll have 10 to 19% equity, which means they don't have to personally guarantee. They're just putting up the capital and they get a great return. That means you are getting the lion's share of this deal. And so therefore the deal structure for most of our teams they're cash flowing $300,000 to $400,000 a year. That is with running our same two-manager system, right? That means that they get their time freedom. Now, the first year you're working, you're learning, you're building out your team, your systems, all that kind of stuff. But man, that puts you in a place where by the end of year one, you are really pulling your time back and really able to spend your time with your family or scale your business or something like that. And you have equity, right? We are building at substantially less than future value because future value includes the real property and the business value. So a lot of times you're coming in and you're building with $2 to $3 million worth of equity. I can tell you firsthand, we'll come in and we'll have this, $3 to $4 million deal, and we have appraisals back from across the country at 6.5 to 7.5 million for one building. They're literally having $2 to $4 million worth of equity on these things. So very, very substantial, and I think that it's awesome. I don't know any other deals that do these kind of things. So let's talk about construction next, right? Like that's the next part of the deal here. So we are building these neighborhoods. They are, some teams are coming in building one, some teams are coming in building two, but then you'll just move forward step by step. And we build 10,000 square feet, 16 bedroom mansions. So I actually want to share what this looks like here. We have a virtual tour of one of our mansions. And our niche is going through and matching the biggest, most expensive luxury, big smelly facility in our market, right? That's kind of our comp. And in my market, they're about $10,000 a month. And we are coming in saying, hey, we can beat them. We can beat them at the physical product. We can beat them at the service. Here's what our mansions look like here. One sec. Let me fix that real quick because I want to share what this looks like. So we will come in, and it honestly makes it so easy to compete with them, right? Most of the time with our niche being end of life and memory care, it's not like they're coming from home. They're not coming from home and getting a big sticker shock of, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. They're going from independent living, then into entry-level assisted living, then usually into later assisted living, and most of these are coming through big corporate. And big corporate just choking it, right? They can't create the culture and the care to be able to do this. So a lot of times from there, then we're going and they're coming now to us from the bigger facilities. So here's one of our mansions. And this here, again, we have all these custom rooms. This is our garden room here. We have 16 private rooms. Here's one of our bedrooms. They're about 330 square feet. We built in a closet, bookshelf. We built in this accent wall along the back there. And then we have every room has their own fireplace. Electric fireplace in there with a TV. You have your own private bathroom here. Roll-in showers, because again, this is all designed for end of life and ADA. This is our great room, right? Like it looks and feels like a home, just a big old mansion. It's not smelly, it's not gross, it's not sterile, it doesn't look and feel like a hospital. Like you're able to come in and build something custom. This is my favorite room, right? Our library. We designed this kind of like this old school, speakeasy vibe with the dark colors and the dark leather chairs. And it's just a great place to hang out. And it's a little place where families can come and sit, one-on-one with their loved ones when they don't want to be in the room. So you can see our kitchen. Again, we have a private chef, and we're beating the big facilities step for step on everything that they can do, right? We have the salon, we have the chef, we have a house doctor that comes in once a week, we have home health, we have hospice. There is no reason why a tour should come from the big smelly facility and say, oh, okay, well, if they're charging, $9,500 over there, I can do, $9,500 here, I need to be less, right? This is not residential assisted living. This is not, I need to charge substantially less than the luxury facility. I want to show you the model to match them and then steal not only all their staff, but steal, honestly, all of their grandmas that are getting bad care. So that's what construction looks like there. Then from there, we are building in 19 different states. And most of our teams use the exact floor plan for what we do, right? They'll come in and just plop it on there. I would say almost everyone copies it exactly. But state by state, it's different. And I can tell you that we have a couple teams in Oregon, and they've modified it for that. Oregon has specific requirements for a break room for staff, certain requirements for a larger laundry room. In Nebraska, our team has modified that. They have tornadoes there, so they put a tornado shelter at one part of the building. You're able to come in, take the templates for this, and modify it and make it your own. And make it your own from a physical structure perspective, but then make it your own from literally like the design perspective. We have teams that'll come in and they're in the desert, and they won't take what our mansions look like that look like they're modern farmhouse from Texas. They'll go and they'll change the skins of these things, and they'll be able to do the whole thing in smooth stucco and make it look more deserty. We have teams that will just make their own, people in Florida who are designing it differently. So you can come in and take this template and really make it your own. That's really what I like about it. We take something that's super hard construction, building new construction. We have our builder, our construction manager on full-time, going through, meeting with all of your architects, engineers, your builder, having a step-by-step process for this and saying, here is, sub by sub, spec by spec, here's exactly what you do. And then we're here to virtually walk through this with you. So construction, I think, gets a bad rap. It's like way too hard. But I can tell you that this is how you build wealth, by building new construction, because you'll build a perfect product and you'll be able to build a lot of equity in this. So the next thing, marketing, right? You got to be able to fill up these mansions that you have. And I remember when I was first getting into this, hearing horror stories that it would take 6 months to get your first resident in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that can't be the case. How is it so bad? Man, we filled up within 3 months. We've done it multiple times. Our partners have filled up, some of them even less than that, right? Like We built a wait list of 50 plus people. And you saw what our buildings look like. Most of these tours, they're coming from the big smelly facilities, right? They're coming from the small little RALs. You come into the mansion, you're like, oh, dang. All right, I get it, right? And then it makes it easy to fill up, and then it really goes back to your care. It goes back to building a reputation, because this industry is all reputation based. Everyone knows who's great and everyone knows who sucks. So it makes it very, very easy to succeed if you genuinely, honestly take care of people. If you love on those grandmas, man, you can charge extra and you can build a wait list, and it makes it very, very easy, therefore, to steal the grandmas from the big smelly facilities. And we teach a program called the Strategic 20, and there's a bunch of YouTube stuff on it if you wanted to dive into it. It's essentially a relationship-based program on how to create, industry, community people that will essentially send you unlimited referrals. And it's very, very easy when you have a product and a service like what we do. So continuing on here, I talked a little bit about this, and I do want to stress this for you, right? Like, we see that we come in, and mostly across the country, it's a lot of big facilities coming in. And I want to show you, this is the step to beat them at their own game. I've told you a couple times that we steal their staff, that we steal their grandmas, that we charge what they charge, the luxury places in our markets. And I honestly know that small entrepreneurs, that husband-wife teams, that partnerships have a strategic advantage here. It's not big corporate. It's not the venture capital. It's not the REITs. They can come in, and they literally do in my city. They've built 4 huge 4-story facilities, and they're 65% occupied. And every home health, hospice nurse, doctor in my city knows that they're crap, that they provide terrible, stinking care. This is the strategic advantage. People who want to make a difference, people who want to build wealth, but honestly help a lot of people. That means that you can hire great people at the top, you can train them, you can invest in them, you can fire the bad people. They can't get staff, so they're not firing the people that are doing a crappy job taking care of the grandmas and grandpas. It makes it super easy to win when you sell and lead with love, right? That's the secret to success here, honestly, is taking amazing care of grandmas. You can keep a huge wait list. You can charge a very luxury amount of profit there. And it makes it easy for teams that are husband, wife, or smaller entrepreneurs to follow these steps and win and do something substantial, do something significant. And that's really my motto and message to you here. So let's go one level deeper there, because I talked to you about what we did in phase 1, right? We build a mansion. Then you got phase 2 and sometimes phase 3 and 4, right? Building out your neighborhood. This is where it gets super, super good. So you build these mansions, you stabilize, you have $2 to $4 million worth of equity. You go back to the bank a couple years later and you refinance. And you pull out some of your equity to fund phase 2. Here's the awesome part. You don't need more investors. You don't have to dilute your equity. You can actually take a higher percentage in the deal, because you could actually buy out investors. You're gonna have lots of equity, right? You could pay out some investors and you still have the capital to fund phase 2. Then you go from making, $400,000, $1,000 a year, and then to, $1 million plus in phase 2. And then even more than that in phase 3 and 4, multiple $1 million a year in cash flow and $10 plus million a year, not 10 plus million in equity on these kind of things. A very substantial net worth kind of play. So this is my deal, right? I told you I have my one and done deal, how we're getting $30 million worth of profit out of this one deal. And you can see here my numbers, and phase 1 is complete. We built 2 mansions. We have a debt of about $7 million on it with an appraisal back of about $13 million, right? We're gonna come back about a year and a half from now and start phase 2. We'll add another $4 million worth of debt. We'll have a $30 million valuation by the time that we go to sell, probably 8 years from now. So that right there, $30 million minus the debt, we'll have about $19 million to split between myself, Laura, and our investor partner. And that's not counting the cash flow, right? Of right now, it's nearly $1 million a year. Later, it'll be over $2 million a year. We'll have more than $12 million to split up from cash flow, plus the 19 from profit of the sale. It literally puts us in a $30 million plus way on conservative, safe numbers now. I think the market's gonna keep growing on this kind of stuff. I do think it could be higher by the time we exit in 8 years. This is big, right? I don't know anybody, I don't know anything that's allowing you to do something big. So that's my message to you. Do a bigger deal. You just need one. You just need one of these neighborhoods, one and done deal. And I think that as long as you have the structure, that most people can do this. If you have the team and the support behind you, that you can do these things. And it makes it, I want to say it makes something really hard and big and scary, like just broken into bite-sized steps, and it makes it super manageable. So as I said, we've been doing this. Our first one we opened in 2019. We are ourselves doing this. I don't consider ourselves gurus. We are business people growing and scaling our own business, and then going and doing these across the country. So I want to show you what that looks like here. We, as I said, are in 19 different states, and we are on a path to get to all 50 states. My goal, and I believe this to be true, in the next 5 years, we are going to be one of the biggest assisted living companies in the country by volume, right? We'll own parts of some of the most assisted living in the country. So this is actually on our website here, assistedlivingmansion.com, and you can actually see here is all of our teams across the country. We started here in Texas. That's where I am. We have most of our teams here, but are expanding out. We're up in the Northeast where people say, it's too expensive to do this. No, you can do this there, right? We're here in teams in Oregon. I think we're hitting California here next month. Yep. We have first team coming into California.
Next week. Team's
coming on board. So this is what I want to show you. Like, you can do something substantial, and the proof's there in the pudding, right? There's nothing stopping you from doing it. The only thing that I know, well, the only state that we have trouble with is North Carolina because of the certificate of need. Every other thing we can create a path for. And a lot of you guys are in states that have FGI. Honestly, a lot of times the only way to get through FGI is to build new construction, right? We are building to FGI standards. You can make something substantial there. So I wanted to show you one of our teams of what their mansions looks like, because I told you, right? Like, you can copy and paste the building, but you can make it their own. And I think this is an awesome example of that. It is coming up here in just a second. So this team here, let's make it full screen. They are in Abilene and literally just copied and pasted our mansion. And so I don't know if you've seen mine enough, but this is literally, it kind of freaks me out when I walk through it because it's so much of our exact building, but they chose all the different things to make it their own for themselves, right? And this is what I love. You can come in and we're not a franchise. You can make it your own. You can put your heart and soul into it. You can do all the little decor stuff here differently. You can do all the different things that makes it special. So I love going to these, the ribbon cuttings, the grand openings for these mansions. Again, this is one of our teams that pretty much copied and pasted it. Then from there, I wanted to talk to you about really the support team, the people that are behind me and behind the teams that are doing this, right? This is our team of experts. Myself, Laura, Chris on the top right, he is our construction manager. He literally built our mansions, and he's here to help all of our teams work with their local builder to build theirs. Alex here, you just met him. He is our head of marketing. He helps all our teams with investor marketing. That's super important. And then filling your beds, how to build that out, all the digital stuff. Then you see in red, that's Mandy. She leads our operations team. She helps you with all the systems relating to your grandmas. And then down below that on the left, that's Eva. She handles all of our staffing. So all of the systems that goes into running effectively your own mansion. Then you have Eli there in the blue in the middle with all of the digital marketing, right? There's actually a lot of stuff that we do fantastic on social media. He teaches our teams a very simple way to do this so that you can go and raise money from investors, so that you can just crush things on social media, so that you can get a bunch of referrals and you can see, these families can see what you do. And then in the bottom right corner, that's Jordan. Jordan handles our licensure stuff and all of our paperwork and really creating systems plug and play state by state so that you can say, okay, here's a template and here's how I implement this in all the different states. So that's really the team that's behind you there. And I would say this is the path to freedom, right? This is the one and done deal where you can do something big and substantial. And from our team, the support of this, I really break it into the 4 core pillars that we lead with. And the first one is the training, right? It's literally like MBA level training and education. We have 400 plus videos. I think it's closer to 450, breaking down the whole journey into micro steps. We have 150 plus tools and documents to help you through the whole thing. Group calls, I think, is the most important thing that we do, right? 6 times a week, our team is on with our teams from across the country, helping them through that. And that kind of leads into the third point, community. There is so much community here. It's like a little mini mastermind, right? We have teams that are meeting together that are all on the same stage. They're all raising money. They're all under construction. They're all operating, going through this journey together. And then we do in-person trainings at our mansions, like almost quarterly. Come out, send your manager out. We'll show you how to build. We'll show you how to raise money. We'll show you how to do the operation stuff right there in the mansions themselves. So that was what I wanted to share with you today. I think this is something that people think is not attainable. And I used to think it was not attainable, right? Like I've just blazed this trail here and said, okay, let me just organize this into one of 100 steps and then detail it all out and then share it with you. So again, a lot of this stuff is on the YouTube. It is on the podcast. You can go through and piecemeal this together, or you can say, you know what, let me do the fast track on this, right? Let me work with a team of experts that is scaling this around the country. That's gonna be the biggest assisted living company in the country in the next few years. So that was my message for you here. What do you think? Do we got anything to kind of final up with, or questions or anything?
We got some Q&A, but before we do that, we're gonna hit some admin stuff here. So we have pinned on the comments, schedule your 15-minute call. Spots are filling up over the next 2 weeks, so we have that. That link is pinned to the top of the comments. If you haven't already followed us on Instagram, please, from the marketing person, please follow us on there. At Assisted Living Mansion, and then at Brett Shaw Cavis. And then last thing is we will be in Glendale, Arizona next week. Brett is going to be speaking at the Assisted Living Conference on there. So we're super excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome event.
Yeah. All right, so some questions here. We get some good questions. First one is from Troy. He did a 2-part question. First part is there a good rule of thumb for determining if a local market can bear my new assisted living home, i.e. X number of beds within X mile locations?
You know, it's a very complicated answer. First things first, go to our location selection training on the portal, free training. We break that down in great detail, step by step. But I look first and foremost at the statistics. What's the median age? What's the median income? What's the population? There's not a lot of, unless it's really small town and very poor, I would say, no, but there's a lot of medium places that work. I think there, and then you go in real life. What does secret shopping look like? What are the bed rates in your community? Are you going to be inferior or superior to those places? And we see teams, Texarkana, Texas, El Paso, Mississippi, not known for very expensive areas, and they're doing great. Yep. What's the lowest I see? I think it's like 6,500.
6,500
is the lowest.
One of our partners is that. And they're already building location number 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They just opened this year.
Staffing is less expensive, construction is less expensive in those markets. It kind of levels out.
Second part is, what are the pros and cons to keeping it assisted living only and not deal with memory care?
Well, assisted living is easier, right? Because you have, just ADLs. The difference in why I focus on memory care is, number one, it bumps price up by a substantial amount, and it really does not change any of your expenses. So really the difference, if you charge an extra $1,000 or $1,500 times 16, that's an extra $16,000 to $22,000 a month of net profit, right? That's really the biggest difference. The other thing is, there's just such a massive need for memory care, because it's a bigger problem to solve. You can go get a cheap bed at assisted living or independent living, no big deal. You can pay $4,000, $5,000, right? You don't need to spend this much money. But when you have a bigger problem like memory care, you can't be at a crappy place, or mom will suffer. And so it makes it really easy to succeed when you have great care and you focus on memory care.
Awesome. I got this question twice now from 2 different people. So essentially the question is, how long do investment partners typically remain involved in the partnership?
That's 100% negotiable. I would say, 5 years is a good number there, between 5 and 10. SBA has a 3-year prepayment minimum, so you don't want to be less than that. Most people, I think 5 to 10 is a good number on that. And I talked about how you don't need more investors, how you can roll that income. You could pay them off, right? you could pay them off and still keep them in the deal. If they had, let's just say they had 15% equity, let's just say, hey, you know what, by year 4, I'm going to cash out refinance, I'm going to pay you back your money, and now you're either out of the deal, or if you needed more leverage in negotiating, I'm going to keep you in at 5%, right? You're in the deal at 5%, even though you got your capital back. And that'll allow you to have that leverage, especially if you're new, to raise that money.
Yep. Ravi Patel, your question is a little bit more detailed. We will respond to that. It's about, he had met with Jordan a month ago and asked a question on that. So super excited. We'll send you a email response on that. And then the last one, I think, in the spirit of Halloween, what would you consider a horror story that gave you your most important lesson?
Man, I was just talking to the team about this yesterday, how I got punched by a grandpa. He punched me in the head twice. But I think just really the lesson here that we were teaching our team is the importance of personalized care. You're going to have people who have dementia. They don't remember who they are, what their name is. It's a very horrible disease, and it's very tough. And leading first with love and taking care of these people is the most important. And that goes back to personalized care. And this is what I was teaching our team yesterday, is that when we bring in a new staff, we're training them resident by resident. Here's how we take care of number 4. Here's how we take care of number 7. So that when you have those outbursts and behaviors and all those kind of things, like, we are really loving and serving on this grandma or grandpa. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you have somebody who's violent and you have to give them a notice to leave. But yeah, punched a couple times, it does happen.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions that we had on there. So,
well, thank you all for being with us. I'm so excited for this. Again, next month we're coming back again. But in the meantime, follow us on all the different socials and ask questions there. We're happy to answer those kind of things on our Facebook group, and then hit the free courses. There is so much content that I put out on those.
I don't think people realize how much content there is on there.
Dozens of hours of no BS, like hardcore step by step is on there. Yep. So it is all free for everybody.
Yes. And Chris Gill, the answer to that question is in one of the free courses. So it's the Foundations course.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, buddy. Thanks for being with us. We will see you guys next time.
All right. See you.